Lesson 8, Unit 4, Risk Response. Once the plan is completed, you will use it during the implementation phase and execute activities to manage risk. The activities are prioritized by the level of risk. The response strategies are to avoid the risk, transfer the risk to another party, mitigate the impact of the risk, and accept the risk. For risks that have high impact and high probability, you will need to avoid the risk by changing the scope, approach, or avoid the event that will create the risk. For example, severe weather conditions can delay the completion of key project activities. In this case, you choose to move the activity to another day, but you should evaluate the consequences to the project objectives. For risks that have medium probability and medium impact, you can analyze the options to either transfer or share the risk with a third party who may have more expertise. For example, the project team may not have the skills required to complete a critical activity, and you decide to hire a consultant to do the work. Mitigate the risk is the option you have when you cannot transfer or share the risk. Mitigate includes activities designed to reduce the impact to the project if the risk were to occur. For example, an activity that may take too much time to complete and may delay the entire project. To reduce the impact of the risk, you decide to increase resources to help complete the critical activity on time. In some cases, the mitigation actions may not eliminate the risk, but will reduce its level of impact. For risks that have low probability and low impact, the best option is to accept the risk. In most cases, the cost of implementing preventive actions may cost more than the cost of the risk. You should do a risk-benefit analysis to determine the cost of accepting the risk. This risk should be monitored regularly to see if the probability or impact changes over time. On a regular basis, you should monitor the status of the risk register. This review is necessary to make changes to the initial analysis on the levels of impact and probability the team made on all risks at the start of the project. As the project makes progress, the team will have more information, or there may be changes in the environment, assumptions, and conditions that can result in changes to the risk, or even discover new risks that need to be included in the risk register. You need to add updates on the progress of the risk mitigation strategies you are implementing and communicate this information to all key stakeholders. Risk trigger is defined as an event or conditions that cause a risk to occur. For some type of risk, it is easy to identify the triggers or situations that can cause a risk to occur. For example, schedule disruptions caused by transportation strikes, budget changes caused by currency fluctuations, or severe weather events that can be monitored closely by following the news and other sources of information that give indicators about the proximity of the risk event. Each risk in your register should have a list of trigger indicators that you can use to monitor during the life of the project. One good practice is to develop an early warning system. This can be done by publishing the risk log with a color indicator that represents the trigger status for each risk, from green to red. As the possibility of a risk changes, the project will update the risk log and change the color assigned to that risk. The table below shows an example. Risk event response involves executing the risk contingency plan to respond to a risk event. Executing the plan ensures that the people assigned to those duties, the risk owners, carry out the actions to mitigate, prevent, or respond to a risk event. Preventive actions occur when you implement measures to reduce the impact or probability of a risk. In other cases, you can decide to implement the actions defined in the contingency plans and workarounds to respond to a risk event for which you did not have previous preventive actions.